What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, you guys. It is the 21st day of June. Here we are at about $103.5 thousand. Not a whole lot's changed in the last 12 hours since I last talked about this thing. Let's look at the daily time frame here. 9 hours, 34 minutes left in the day. Moving up a little bit. I am under the impression that we did find support yesterday and that we are not moving lower than this low. I understand that if we do close up here, we will have a gap. We will have a CME gap down here. We don't have to fill every gap, right? And that's something that we were addressing actually on yesterday's live stream. If we're looking at it here, looking at it on the daily time frame, there's some people that think we need to go down to here to fill this gap or here to fill this gap. Are there any other gaps that we haven't filled down here? No. There's other gaps that we haven't filled. Right here, there's a little gap where you close the day, and these gaps are harder to see, right? There's not like an actual gap in the chart between the candlesticks, but if you look at where this candle closed, it closed here. The next candle opened here. It went to fill the gap, but there's a little gap there. It's a little gap. Okay, maybe that's a one-off. What about this one? What about this one here, where again you close the day here, but then you open the day here? You kind of go in and fill that gap the same day, kind of, but it's not even filled completely. All right, is that not good enough for you? What about this one, where you close the day here, you open the day here? There's a huge gap, no wick down there at all, and nothing has or will ever fill that gap in Bitcoin's existence from here on out. We keep going down. There's a little gap there, an actual gap. I don't need to draw the lines. You can see, I mean, I say actual gap. They're all actual gaps, just something that's more conventional for the eye to see. Here you've got another gap right there that didn't get filled. Here, there's a gap down here that didn't get filled all the way at 40K. We look down, there's a gap right there. It's Gap City down here, you guys. Gap, you guessed it. Double gap right there. No fillage at all. And if you notice, most of these gaps actually happen when Bitcoin is on a progressive, productive move to the upside, right? After we've consolidated for a little while, we're at the lows. They actually tend to happen down there. Let's see. Look at that. Look at that gap that got filled. Same thing, right? Consolidation phase, then you moved up. I wonder how many people, when Bitcoin closed around like 20,000 on March 23rd, and then opened up at 21,000 on March 23rd. I wonder how many people were anticipating this gap to fill that whole time, even throughout here, and it still hasn't been filled. And then we keep going back in time. There's more gaps that haven't been filled. Bitcoin does fill a good bit of its gaps. It does a good bit of the time, but there are times whenever it doesn't, and it's also possible, even if the BTC price, looking at this here, BTC USD, even if the price doesn't get too far away from here, it doesn't need to move lower. The price doesn't need to move lower for the CME gap to fill. Sometimes the gaps or the CME price will drop even if the actual price of Bitcoin doesn't drop, just in anticipation, right? That's why it's called futures, because it's just people making bets on the future price, essentially, right? $103,000, 103.4K right now, 9 hours, 31 minutes left in the day. I don't think we're going to fill that gap, man. I don't think we're going below 100K ever again. It's possible. It's very possible. And if I'm wrong on that, that's okay. That is okay. If I'm wrong on that, we have opportunities to buy. We have opportunities to buy at lower prices. 95.8K or somewhere around there. It's very common with the 382 to wick just below it and then close above it. So yeah, maybe, in that gap, I want to say it was at like 91, 92K. So yeah, it's possible. We go down here in this area, maybe the low area to find support, prior areas of resistance, prior areas of support. It's possible. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying I doubt that it happens, and it's not a requirement, right? If you're banking on that, I hope you're not out of the markets thinking that you know what you're doing. It might work out. You never know. And wouldn't that be something? If you were out of the markets, you hear that message, and then you buy back, and then it goes down, and you're like, damn it, C-Zar, I should have never listened to you. Well, make your own decisions, right? But that's just my thought. That's just my opinion on the matter. Let's look at the 1 hour time frame, and then we'll zoom out from there. And then again, I was just inspired, or that thought was inspired by a discussion we had yesterday on the live stream, but also the fact that if we keep moving up, if today closes green, if tomorrow closes green, we will probably have a small gap on the on this Friday to Monday open next week, right? And Monday is not today. Tomorrow is Sunday, and then the next day is Monday, the 23rd. Yeah. Let's look at the 1 hour time frame. We'll zoom out from there. Okay. 1 hour time frame here. Dropping it down. with a little pickup in volume. The most volume you have is actually on this candle here with a big wick to the upside. Bitcoin likes to throw people off, man, so that big wick in itself might not save us, but I'm thinking it will. We'll see. A lot of volume came on this candle. Less volume came on the wicking candle. But still, between this wicking candle and the following candle that happened, I think between those two candles there, I wonder, can we actually do this? Is there a way that we could do from a low to a high, something like that? Pretty close. Pretty close to the same amount of volume that sent you on the way down. And there's buying pressure. Every buys to sell, so there's a lot of volume at the lows. It's very possible that that is the low point there. I wouldn't be surprised at all. If we're looking at this on the I'm on the 15-minute time frame. If we're looking at this on the 1 hour time frame, you do have higher highs in the RSI while having higher highs in the price. That's nice to see. You're at the 40, which is a good area to bounce from. Stochastics are pointed down. A couple of things, I guess, that suggests we would go lower. We could go lower. It is possible. We could go down below 103K, and if we do, we'll probably form bullish divergence, not just on the RSI, but on the stochastics as well. The MACD on the 1 hour has been wrestling with this zero line, showing some significance and lack of significance, I should say. Rejecting it here, crossing above it, then crossing back below it. It looks like you want to make another cross here. We want to get this MACD above the zero line, so today and tomorrow being green would help in that endeavor, I think. But that's not enough to determine, at least from the MACD perspective, if we'll go up or down. RSI looks like it's at a good point to bounce. The 1 hour stochastic looks like it would go lower. You'd ideally go from overbought to oversold to overbought to oversold. But sometimes, and on the 1 hour, the shorter time frames especially, you get this inconsistent behavior where you do actually not go from overbought to oversold, and you can bounce off these like 50 areas. You're actually at that area now that you bounced off of last time you were overbought. So it's very possible, while this looks bearish, it actually is possible that you could bounce here. And with the RSI in mind, I actually do think that you bounce here. But let's look at the 15-minute time frame. Rejecting the oversold zone. You got 12 minutes left in this 15-minute time frame. Let's see how that holds up. What about the MACD? Building bearish momentum, but you're right at the zero where you might find support. I don't know. Like the stochastics, the MACD is less reliable on these shorter time frames, so I don't know. 4 hour, the RSI is pretty reliable across all time frames. So pretty reliable doesn't mean absolutely reliable. I'd say it's most reliable. Everything's most reliable on like the 4 hour and outward, right? Stochastics have bullish divergence, higher lows here, lower lows there. MACD has bullish divergence almost. You actually got rid of it with that last drive there, and that's okay. You're at an area that I would expect you to bounce on the RSI, looking for support here. You found support in this area between the 40 and the 35 often. Getting overbought, not getting oversold is a good thing, but rejecting the 60 is not a good thing. So you're showing good things and bad things. We'll go with a neutral RSI. 4 hours isn't really helping us. I'm going to lean to the idea that we do find support here and that we do move up, mainly because, again, I believe this pattern that we have here is not a pennant. I don't know what... I respect a lot of these analysts on X.com, but I don't know what they're smoking. This is not a pennant. This is, like, come on, guys. Basic pattern recognition. You're better than this. Come on. Why won't it let me draw right from here? You've got higher lows here, lower highs here. I get where you think that's a pennant, but pennants don't form. If this was a pennant, it would have formed over here. It would have been a pennant here. You don't get pennant. That's not, no. No. It's a diamond top. It's a diamond top is what it is. It's a diamond top. And it looks ugly, and that's how you know it's a diamond top, actually. That's very validating. If you're looking at that and saying, that's an ugly-ass pattern, what do you mean it's a diamond? That's actually how you know that it's a diamond top. And diamond tops, you guys, are notorious, and I was kind of hoping that we would break out one direction to the downside, because they're notorious for breaking out one way and then ripping through the breakout point and going the opposite direction with high velocity. It's the weekend. I'm not assuming that we're going to make too big of moves now, but again, going back to that CME idea, if we move up today and tomorrow, if we see some solid movement back into this range, first off, that would change. I think that would change the dynamic. The market would be very bullish, and of course you should be bullish. We're up here consolidating at prior areas of resistance. Instead of rejecting down, we're just consolidating in this area, right? We've been above 100K for like 44 days now in a row. I would think that we're about to break out. We're about to see new all-time highs. Of course we are, right? Bitcoin doesn't hang out at its all-time high area if it's going to move down. It just gets there and then it moves down, right? Within a week, from here to this, from that high to this low, that was like a week later. You know what I mean? That was literally the 20th to the 27th. That was the 20th. Literally a week later, you moved down, right? I guess, I mean, to be completely fair, actually, in all fairness, you did move down a good bit, but you moved back up. You moved back up here. I don't know, holes in my logic there, but the main thought is where you found resistance in this area, you're finding support now. I feel, like you're actually consolidating here. You're not just in and out of this area. That's all I mean. You might have been in and out of this area. That last point I might have made wasn't. This is not a good example of that. Even though it's true, it's not a good example of that. But the point remains that we're consolidating in areas that we used to find resistance at. I think that's a bullish thing, not a bearish thing. And you can take this diamond top breakout of this ascending trend line here, breakout, and shove it right back through, because that's probably what we're going to do, honestly. Last time we had a diamond top, we did break out. We broke out downward, and we did pull back. You see the volatility I'm expressing here, but we didn't go through the breakout point, right? It's like a 50-50 chance. Well, there's one example where it didn't happen. Odds are it's 50-50 still. It's like flipping a coin. It never ups your odds, but statistically, I mean, the more you flip, the more likely you are to get a different result, right? I guess it's technically not, but I would expect it to be. I don't know. That kind of logic can get you in trouble in Vegas. 103.7K, though. Bitcoin likes it whenever I talk about it, because it's just moving up slowly but surely. You're a good Bitcoin. Keep doing your thing. Daily time frame, if today can close green, we are bouncing off the 40. We're also maintaining these higher lows, right? Higher lows in the RSI. That's nice to see. We want our higher lows. Stochastics look good. Higher lows here as well. Bouncing off the oversold zone. That's pretty good to see. This is actually a very prime reaction if we could just continue to cross upwards with the blue line and flip that red line, the slower moving average, upwards. That'd be good. The MACD is coming down to the 0 line, which is where you want to find support on the daily, right? You would expect to find support here and significance at the 0 because it's the daily time frame. Of course, if we're breaking out of this range, breaking out of this to the downside, then I guess we would expect to break below it, but time will tell. The shorter term time frames to me are neutral, if anything, but bullish. I definitely see some more bullishness from the RSI and the stochastics in those shorter time frames. The MACD is kind of the one that's neutral, but from here, I think if we could turn this around and by the end of the month start pumping up, this would actually look like a really good result from the MACD bouncing off the 0 line there. So that's what we're looking for. Again, if I'm wrong, it's okay. It's okay. Go down. All the targets we're about to talk about to the upside, they're still going to happen. It's just you're going to go down first, and then they'll happen later. You know what I mean? We're still going to get there. It's just going to happen later. That's not a big deal. You get an opportunity to buy more. Literally, like, think about it right now. It's actually better if we go down, right? Because if we believe we're going to go all the way up here, but we go down first, maybe to here to this range, and then we go up all the way up to here, you have an opportunity to buy more at cheaper prices, which means that you'll have more when you get up here, which means that you'll have more. You're going to have more value, right? It's actually a good thing. If we're going there inevitably, the best thing to do would actually be to drop. So I kind of hope I'm wrong. But if I'm right, we're all going to make money anyway, so it's not a big deal. From a high here, unless you're selling, unless you're panic selling, those people will learn the hard way, I suppose. Here we are. Also, by the way, consolidating between your 786, 886, 100 area like this, very, very bullish. Very, very, very bullish, okay? Very confident that we'd find support at 94.4K if we were to go lower, just because that's the golden ratio. I don't even think... And that's the thing, man. If we were to go down, that CME gap... Here's the thing. That CME gap down here is at $92,000. But the golden ratio is at 94K. I don't think we go to 92K, you guys. And again, Bitcoin could be at 94K. The futures can hit 92K. They're not like exactly tit for tat, right? But I would still think that we find support at 94.4K. That's all I'm trying to say there. And that would be, the price would be up here. Still far away from the gap. It wouldn't make sense to approach that gap and then not fill it, right? I feel like it would make even more sense to just actually continue moving up from here, given all the data we've seen. From a high to a low, my expectation would be that we move up to this 130 to 140 area. Probably not by the end of the month at this point, but going into early July. Then we'll probably correct back down to 120K, 115K maybe at the current area that people are calling for us to find resistance at. I think that we'll actually move, like, for the people that are talking about Bitcoin moving up, a lot of people are talking about 115 to 120K. I bet we surpass that. Bitcoin will move up faster than people expect. We'll probably find resistance at 130 to 140, pull back to 115 to 120 for support, and then continue to rally up to about 180, 190K, somewhere around there by the end of July. Maybe early August at this point. Maybe. I mean, I didn't expect this consolidation phase to be that long. People are surprised. Back here, you were saying we would be up at these areas by the end of July or middle July. Why is it all the way over here now? Well, you use your eyeballs, right? If we're at the exact same price that we were back here and we make the same exact move, it's going to be later, right? Because we consolidated. That's just how it happens. Did I expect that we would consolidate for a month? Was that in my analysis back here? No. So it's very obvious then that if the outcome is still the same, regardless of the consolidation phase, that it would take longer. We're not going to go backwards in time. You just got to be productive, proactive. People like that, man, they get stuck in the past, and that's a problem. You got to keep up with the times, man. That's why it's important to watch all these videos every single day, man, because I can change my mind like that. The market changes its mind even faster. You know what I mean? You got to be with it. You got to be with it. Don't be one of those people who's talking about a call that somebody made a year ago and think that has any relevance in today. Things change, man, and they should change. If you're so stuck in your ways that you can't change your opinion when the data changes within a day's time, you're going to get left behind in this game. You got to be fluid. You have to be fluid. You have to be able to flip and flop. That's kind of how it is. Maybe don't flop, but flip. 3-day time frame. The 3-day stochastics is a good argument for going lower. I would say it is a good argument for going lower. But we have seen moments, again, where you don't get into the oversold zone and you continue to rally. We have seen moments like that right here, right there. 3-day time frame is a good argument for going lower. The MACD is even a good argument for going lower because we just crossed this thing to the bearish effect. But we can still reverse this and come up green. Let's see here. Typically, though, if you look at the 3-day MACD, right, you don't build bearish momentum like this and then flip green the next day or the next 3-day. That's not what happens. You kind of decay. You decay a little bit and then you flip green. So that makes me wonder if we will. I mean, we got 2 days and 10 hours left in this 3-day time frame. Let's just see. If this 3-day time frame can come up a little bit, it can move up. This would look like it's decaying, and then maybe the next one, tomorrow or the next one just to start off the week isn't that productive, and then it's decaying as well, and then ending the week with that last 3 days, we could have a little rally. I don't know. But the MACD on the 3 days, the one thing I would say that has me a little bit worried, and the stochastics, actually. The RSI is fine. You've got lower lows with higher lows. It's hidden bullish divergence, but 2 versus 1, that's not a good look. But to be fair, the stochastics is the golden child. Weekly RSI rejecting the overbought zone. We don't want this week to close red. We want every week to close green, but whatever, man. The weekly MACD and the weekly stochastics look good in my opinion. The RSI just needs to do its part and get into the overbought zone. Once we do that, we should be pretty good, man. The weekly, again, the last time that the weekly stochastics was overbought, if we're looking at this here, whenever you got overbought right here on this week, you did not really start crossing down and moving down until this week here, right? That was your high. You stayed overbought for 15 weeks, essentially. Here, we're only on our 6th week, if I remember correctly. Yeah. 7th week. Is it 7? Oh, we weren't overbought. See, we actually weren't overbought on that week, so it'd actually be here. 6th week, yeah. 6th week, we weren't overbought on the 7th week. We didn't get overbought to the 6th week. There is some gap in between there, but you can't really go in between the 6th and 7th week on the weekly time frame to get where that stochastic did hit the overbought zone. I hope that makes sense. But 6 weeks overbought technically versus 15 weeks last time. And we look back before here, you were pretty consistently overbought here for about 11 weeks. And I would even argue that you really didn't get out of the overbought zone until 25 weeks later, which is whenever you ended your endeavor as a whole, right? You consolidated here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks, and then moved up on the 10th week. Here we've been consolidating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks now. I mean, pretty similar time. I don't think that we're going to spend 10 weeks consolidating here, but I would actually think that this reaction in the stochastics is very similar to what we saw back here. That's probably what we're going to do. I would expect that we continue to live up here. The stochastics are not the same as the RSI, right? RSI, if you're moving up like this, you start moving down, you would expect that you recover a little bit before you come up. The stochastics, you can move down in the overbought zone. You can kind of wiggle around up here and still maintain, and that's exactly what I expect to happen. So here we are, 103.6K now. I'm going to stop talking. Bitcoin's getting tired of my voice. hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I assume that we're at the low, and I assume that the next week, the end of the month here, is going to be a good time. All right, take care. Bye-bye.